My name is Davide, and I'm the most naive Italian tourist in the history of naive Italian tourists. And today we're going to set foot in Russia. Only problem is, I haven't really got a visa or anything.
Anybody who follows me knows that I have a weird fascination with borders and immigration. I don't have much of a strong stance on the political and ethical implications of it, but I do have a massive passion for anything related to the practical aspects of how national borders work. I could spend hours reading about entry rules, border crossing regulations, passport stamps, and stuff like that. That's why recently on my Instagram, some random dude messaged me challenging me to attempt what most people think is impossible: entering Russia without a visa. The random dude thought that he was catching me off guard, but he wasn't. I soon developed a strategy to complete the task that was handed to me, and I got to work.
Just as any other self-respecting geographic nerd, the other night I was spending some time on Google Maps just studying and playing around the border between Estonia and Russia. And that's when I found out that there's this small protuberance of Russian territory that just juts out for a couple of kilometers into Estonia. I've done some research, and apparently that area is known as the Satse Boat. Just because this small horn of Russia divides two Estonian villages that are situated right there on the border, and the name of one of those two villages is Satse. These villages, essentially, they're part of the same country, but between them is Russia. Now, there is one road that connects the two villages, and obviously in Soviet times it wasn't really that much of a problem traveling on that road just because there were no national borders back then. But since the collapse of the Soviet Union, people have still been using that road to go from one village to the other. And for the past 30 years, apparently, Russia has been kindly allowing people to travel on that road to go from one village to the other without any kind of border control, passport control, and most importantly, without any kind of visa being necessary to drive across Russian territory for a good couple of kilometers. And by now, I guess you've already understood what our main goal for this video is going to be, right? So, without any further ado, let me give you my most sincere greetings from Tallinn, capital of Estonia, and more precisely, my most sincere greetings from what is probably the most Soviet neighborhood here in the capital of Estonia, because all of these buildings that I'm walking around now were built during the years of the Soviet domination of the whole of the Republic of Estonia. And it's from right here, from Tallinn, that we will be leaving on this adventure towards this road that we are going to try and travel on, going from one Estonian village to another Estonian village, but crossing through another country. It's just as if, in order to go from Chester to Liverpool, which are both in England, you had to cross through Wales or something. But obviously, this one is on a much bigger scale. There's just so many combi blocks, man. It looks like we're somewhere near Nizhny Novgorod or somewhere else in Russia, really. But on cars, you still see the 12 stars of the European Union flag. So we're definitely still in Estonia. And we're still in Tallinn, but for not much longer, because in a few minutes we will be starting our adventure towards the east. And for our adventure towards the Satse Boat, we won't be by ourselves, but we will be featuring the return of a very good old friend of mine that you guys should know as well. So let's go and meet him. For a mission of this kind, I needed a body indeed. It would have been very risky to venture into Russian territory without a visa by myself. Ian! How's it going, man?
Hey, hey!
Long time no see, right?
Long time no see, no taxi sadly.
But if there was going to be one dude who was going to be the right man for the job, it would have definitely been Ian, my Scouse friend, originally from Liverpool, now resident of Estonia, who had already kept me company on some other quests along the legendary borders of the just as legendary republics of the Baltic Sea. The road of the Satsebut can be crossed only on your own vehicle, and with Ian being a car enthusiast, I knew that I was going to be in good hands.
But okay, so what do we have here?
Volkswagen Passat, complete with some scratch marks of, I assume, an animal.
Nice little door here with some slight damage.
Some damage from something.
Is this your actual car? What plans do you have with this one?
I'm gonna export it, I think, I don't know.
Right, and resell it then.
Resell
Okay,
it,
okay.
maybe, I'm not sure.
But the first country that we are going to export this country to is going to be Russia, right?
Yes.
Right, let's go. Ooh la la, the skies are getting cloudier as we're just about to leave and embark on our legendary mission towards the east. The last time that we saw, we were on the Latvian border, right, with the London taxi. It's a pity we don't have the London taxi now, but at the end of the day, it would have been very risky to take a London taxi through Russia, even though technically we're not going to cross. I mean, technically, we are going to cross the whole of Russia, right? But just for a very small...
whole, yes.
Yeah.
The entirety of that little bit.
The entirety of the Satsebut. So we've got our little Estonian flag because we love Estonia. We can see a road sign with some of the destinations that we are going to find on this road towards the east. We had Jovi in there, and we also had some destinations that we are not going to be able to see today because we had Narva, which is right before the border with Russia on the Baltic Sea, and then we also had Peterburi. You probably haven't seen it, but that's Estonian for St. Petersburg, which is obviously on the other side of the border, a couple of hours away from it. So there's the three of us in this car. We've also got Kaiti, who is a bit camera shy, so she won't be included much in this video on camera, but she will be very much helping in the behind the scenes because she's Estonian and we're definitely venturing into a part of Estonia that's quite hot, especially in this time of history. How's the car behaving?
Fine, everything's
Fine.
working nicely.
This is basically a test ride that we're taking this car on, right? Because you said that you bought it yesterday.
Yeah, last night.
So we need to reach one of the two villages that are separated by Russia, and then we just need to hit the road and cross through Russia.
Basically, as far as I was aware, it's a gravel road, and you connect between two villages. It exists because of some agreements that were never ratified and never changed, and yeah, it was never fixed.
Right, so this road is only crossable by car, is that right?
Yeah, you can't walk it.
It's a couple of kilometers long, or even less?
I think it's less.
Less than that? Can we stop on that road?
I believe not.
Because there are Russian border
There
guards
are Russian
there,
border
right?
guards and towers from what I've seen in photos.
So there's watchtowers, so it is being surveilled by both Estonian and Russian border guards, I guess. How far can we push it? Like, can we drive really slowly, like 1 kilometer per hour?
No, I think that there's a minimum speed limit of 40. I believe.
Really? Okay. It's quite high if it's a gravel road. Can we cross by bicycle?
I don't know.
We can try. If we can find a bicycle in some of those Estonian villages, can we cross by moped? Now, you guys might be confused, right? You might be thinking, why are we seeing a railway track when we were traveling by car? Well, there's a parking lot over there where we just left the car to park, and Ian and Kaidi, which is the name of the other girl who's with us today, have decided to stay there and have decided to give me a couple of minutes to rejoice for the fact that we've made it to this railway platform for this little village in the middle of the Estonian forest by the name of Peipsi. We found Peipsi! This wasn't really even on the way from Tallinn to of the Russian border, we had to make like a 20-minute deviation from our path, and I was like, I'm not gonna miss out on the chance to find pussy, right? And so we did. And it seems like it's a lovely little village in the middle of the Estonian forest. And I imagine that this is the village where people will start speaking more Russian as opposed to Estonian. Let's go and see if we can have a little drive around this village. What do you say? The further east you go in Estonia, and the more people speak Russian. But at the same time, the further east you go in Estonia, and the more the population density drops, just because you're also venturing into what is also the poorest region of the country. So according to my own calculations, Peipsi was going to be a very quick stop in a village with a very small population. No way in hell we could have ever expected what occurred soon after.
Something's happening.
There's a barbecue or something. Look at that. We were expecting to barely see anyone out and about on the streets of Peipsi. Hence, we were very surprised when all of a sudden we started hearing loud music being played in one of the fields surrounding Peipsi. What's going on?
Peipsi Punk Festival, it's a...
Peipsi Punk Festival.
Peipsi, yeah, not Pussy, not Pussy.
It's the festival of pussy, man. Wow, thank you. Aite. Wow. And what we saw was absolutely crazy. Random youth with more alcohol than blood flowing through their veins, rhythmically bumping their heads to some of the most unpleasant drum and guitar noises that had ever reached my eardrums in my lifetime. We had bumped into a rave party.
That place is not called Pussy.
That's literally what it says on Google Maps.
Pussy,
That's literally what it says on Google Maps. Pussy.
Not Pussy. Pussy.
Pussy.
Pussy. Pussy. Not Pussy. Not Pussy. Pussy.
So what's this about?
Rock and roll.
What's the festival? Punk.
Rock and roll, rock and roll.
Pussy. Not Pussy. Pussy. Pussy.
That's a penis, right?
Penis.
Okay. This is crazy! We've just very randomly bumped into a punk festival here in Peipsi. This is the festival of Peipsi. This is so random. I feel a bit out of place, to be honest. Look at this. There's a penis being thrown around the stage, as you can see. There's a guy having a nap, and there's that penis over there which is being thrown around on stage. And there's some random people singing and playing some music in their underwear. This is random as heck. I feel a bit out of place, to be honest. I don't feel like I'm the target audience for something like this. You like the music? Yes, she likes it.
I was saying how, like, you're the most nicely dressed Italian man.
The randomness didn't necessarily stop there, however, as just as we were leaving the party, we bumped into a Tajik dude.
Hey, Salam alaikum. Where are you from?
Я таджик.
It's Tajikistan. Salam alaikum. Tajikistan.
Have you ever met a Tajik dude in Estonia? Because I hadn't up until that point. That was pretty crazy.
Ты в Эстонии живете?
Нормально, все хорошо.
А здесь люди от всей стран? Первый раз.
Я первый раз заходил здесь, я смотрю какой-то картон там.
Да, с членом.
Что делает, никто не понимает.
Да, я тоже не понял. Нам пора в Россию сейчас. Пойдем.
Я велик с тобой возьму.
Что?
Я велосипед.
Все,
Давай, брат.
спасибо.
Ты кто по нации?
Italia.
Италия?
Да. Man, that guy from Tajikistan was random as heck. He was also drunk as heck.
Oh, he was, yeah.
Yeah, he smelled like he smelled like pure alcohol. This was like an out of the world experience. This village is like what, 43 people?
Right.
And like 40 of them are at that festival over there. But I guess they came from all over the country. Have you ever been here?
No.
So you didn't know about the festival?
No idea that was a thing.
There was just one thing that I wanted to show you before we move on and drive towards the border, towards the actual border with Russia, that we're now not even that far from. I think we've still got an hour left to drive. But I just needed to show you this, the main tourist attraction of Peipsi. Dwayne Johnson, The Rock. So this Satsebud thing, because we said that there's Russians, so there's Russian border guards. This Satsebud is far from any other Russian settlement, but it's open. It's technically open 24/7, right?
I think the road is open 24/7.
So it's like there's Russian border guards which are surveilling the border 24/7.
yeah.
Are we going to see some of the really interesting border markers that we so much love? I guess.
You see a sign.
There will be a sign as well.
I think you see a sign because on the images there's a sign that says like you're not allowed to stop. So that should be important.
Oh, so there are warning signs.
There's warning signs, definitely.
warning signs saying, "Hey, you're entering Russia.
Don't enter.
Don't do it.
Don't stop. Go back."
We were getting closer to the border, but at the same time, we were still quite far from our final destination. From Peipsi, we would have reached the northern section of the border, near Narva and near this lake, which is divided between the two countries. And by all means, from Narva, you can get into Russia by a regular border crossing, however, meaning that you need a visa. In order to continue towards the Satsebud and escape the adamant Russian border guards who would have very accurately scanned their passports for a visa, we would have had to proceed south for 100 more kilometers. Thankfully, we had plenty of time because it was summer.
How do nights look like in Tallinn at this time of the year? Like, does it actually go dark, or is it like you've got twilight?
You have twilight.
You've got twilight, right?
Yeah.
So even at the darkest moment of the night, at around 1 or 2 o'clock, you still see that it's not completely
It would
dark.
be more like 3 o'clock or something. Like
That's
that.
the darkest point.
No, it was still light last night. Like
It doesn't go like dark.
it doesn't go fully
no.
dark. It was still light.
It doesn't go like winter dark anymore.
Right, fascinating. But then in winter, you've got the
Pitch black.
opposite.
Yes,
Yeah, right.
yeah.
On our way to the lake, we were also thinking of ways to spice things up a little bit while crossing the boot of Satse.
Let's think about something that is legal in Estonia, but illegal in Russia. Like, let's say homosexuality. What
Yeah.
happens if, while we're driving on this piece of road, I roll the window down, which I can't because this thing is broken, right? But let's say I get on the other side of the car and I yell, "Hey, I'm gay!" outside of the window. Are they going to have trouble with it? What happens if we wrap the car in an LGBT flag and we drive through Russia with it? That's going to break a law
There you break Russian law.
in
yeah,
Russia, right?
definitely.
Promotion of LGBT
Yeah.
values. Like, what happens then?
And it was amidst these discussions that we made it to the lake, effectively reaching the ultimate border of the European Union.
What's the name of this lake? Like Peipus or something? Peipsi Lake.
Peipsi,
Peipsi.
Peipsi. Oh, Lake Peipsi. And what's that?
Peipsi.
Peipsi.
Yeah,
You know what
Peipsi.
this lake is called? It's called as in Russian? Lake Coke. And we've made it to one of the largest lakes of the European Union, which is extra fascinating for the fact that just on the other side of this lake, you've got Russia. It's just that at this point, the lake is even a bit too wide, so much that you can't see Russia actually, but you guys have to trust me. We will be able to see Russia even from upper closer in a couple of hours time, but for the moment, we can officially say that we have made it to the border. There's a couple of boats around there, and I saw a boat of the police and the border guard of Estonia. And this is where Estonia ends, basically. And you've got this very nice monument of some random dude holding some pieces of wood. Very random. And you guys can see that I'm not making a fool out of you dear viewers. I am actually at this lake that makes up the border of one of the easternmost borders of the Schengen area between Estonia, between the European Union and Russia. And you can see that because we've got these boats. It says there, police and border guard. So this is one of the boats used by the Estonian border forces to patrol such a sensitive area of the Union expanding from Portugal all the way to here, passing through legendary countries such as the Democratic People's Republic of Liechtenstein and the Grand Duchy of Poland. Isn't that fascinating? So what do you think would happen if we were just to take our clothes off and get into the water and start swimming?
You can.
And start swimming eastwards.
Oh, if you keep going, probably like Coastal Guard will come after you.
I guess. We have just made it to this section of the lake where the water just seems so nice. Again, Russia is somewhere behind that forest. The water here seems beautiful, right? You can see the sand that is white, and over there the water is just of a blue that is just so nice to look at. Well, we've got to be careful because if we were to fall into the water we would die. Because over there you've got mines of oil shale, which are still active to this day, and these are pretty much discharge waters. These are industrial waters that can cause very serious issues if we were ever to touch them. It is a touristy place, so that's why over there and also now you do see quite a few cars that come to this spot for the view. But you can see that in order to warn the tourists, they have put up this sign in both Estonian and Russian saying "Shelochnaya vada apasna." So are we guys actually sure that it's safe to breathe in?
Apparently it's just the water that is very corrosive.
So the most important thing is that we don't touch it, but it's safe as long as we're on the shore.
Apparently.
Okay, so what happens actually if you touch it? You get burns?
Yeah.
Like
actual chemical burn.
Like you die if you get too much, or?
No, if you swim in it you will die. But if you touch it you will just get a burn.
So we can try with a finger or two.
If you want
Yeah,
the chemical burn.
please do the honors.
The weird thing is that every time I look at it I'm like, yeah, I just want to put my fingers on it.
What they say is true about the fact that it's always the most beautiful looking things that are the most dangerous and that can kill you. Like kangaroos, for example. Who doesn't love kangaroos?
Those lakes on the Russian-Estonian border were fascinating, but what would have even been more fascinating was the area near the Satse Bud. So we continued further, crossing immensely rural areas with immensely low traffic. The monotony of the road was broken only by the occasional supermarket that we would see by the side.
We just stopped here at the supermarket on the road towards the south. We don't have much left. We're somewhere around here, I think, so we had to drive a little bit away from the lake. This is an interesting island that you can see that is just to the left of the border. This yellow line right here is the border, and this island right here is still Estonian, and I was reading on Wikipedia that it's got 12 people living in it. It's a pity that we don't have the time now, but maybe next time.
We stopped because we desperately needed a drink. If we had got stopped by border guards at some point, who knows how long they would have kept us for questioning.
Like a true Italian, having cappuccino after 12 p.m.
We had played around for a good part of the day, but as the moment grew nearer, the tension was rising.
If we do get stopped by border guards, who's doing the talking?
I'll do
and what do we say?
I'll do this.
Okay. I mean, if it's Estonian border guards, we can always do this, right? We can wave the flag and we can show that we're friends of Estonia. By the way, according to Google Maps, there's a Russian Federation viewpoint. Have you seen that one?
I saw this. Someone's marked it off.
Wow, interesting. Let's look at the reviews. Does it have any? This is about the only way I will ever visit Russia. We followed the rules and didn't stop.
which is sensible as the region is electronically monitored by the Estonians. Even without stopping, we were stopped by a police officer and a Frontex officer. That's the whole Schengen border agency thing, right?
Yeah.
And they spent over half an hour checking our paperwork. Interesting. It was slightly nerve-wracking, particularly knowing that one of the countries is very willing to ignore international treaties and other laws. Why do they have to speak about Estonia like that, man? Come on! Okay, the Satsebut is open as of last week when I tried it. Obviously, if you do, just follow the posted rules. I made sure to yell Slava Ukraine really loudly out of the window as to get away with a major felony within Russian borders. At around 8 p.m., we made it. We had reached the village of Lutepa, the last village before the Satsebut. A village like any other in Estonia, so much that if it hadn't been for Google Maps, we would have had no idea that we were that close to such a sensitive piece of road.
And this is one of the two villages that is separated by Russia.
Look, this is the final stop before the Satsebut.
It's interesting, you do have a bus going through Russia. You do have an Estonian bus that goes through Russia for those couple of kilometers of the Satsebut without stopping. That's interesting. And this is the village. This is what an Estonian village looks like, right next to the only road in Estonia, in the European Union, that lets you cross into Russia without a visa. By the way, there is a bus that goes to Satse. It's interesting, right?
We were looking at it goes through every day.
Like an Estonian bus crossing into Russian territory. Man,
day.
Geography is just so cool, isn't it?
Not even 30 seconds after getting back in the car, we saw it. We saw the first warning sign that told us that we were just about to enter Russia. Even though no one was around, the tension was palpable, so much that Ian didn't even feel like it was safe for us to stop and take a few pictures.
Can you stop?
No, I can't.
This was now the moment of truth.
Okay, guys, it says that you're entering the territory of the Russian Federation. Now, we can't really stop, but look, we can't walk on here because that's the Estonian border marker, that's the Russian border marker.
Now, most of my dear viewers probably already know that I've got an Italian channel as well, and I usually film my ethno-sociological documentaries in both languages. It's not usually a problem, but considering that it would have taken us 30 seconds to cross the Satsebut, I definitely didn't have the time to film the same clip twice, in English and Italian. Therefore, my dear viewers will have to bear with me for a minute and put up with me speaking Italian for a few seconds with English subtitles.
Raga, siamo ufficialmente in Russia. Stiamo attraversando territorio russo. Siamo in Russia e il visto non ce l'abbiamo e nessuno ci ha controllato i documenti. Wow, che emozione. Non so nemmeno cosa dire. Do you have a visa on your passport? Because I don't.
No.
Kaidi, do you have a visa for Russia? You don't, right? I don't either. Are they watching us? I don't even know. Oh, are we back in Estonia?
Yeah, we're out.
We are back in Estonia, raga. Siamo tornati in Estonia.
Now
Wow.
we are back in Estonia.
Che conclusione anticlimatica. Tutto
Now it
qui.
is. That's it.
Okay, I'm gonna throw in some pictures that were taken from Kaidi as well for all my fellow border lovers. This was the warning sign in 3 languages, making everybody aware that a state border was about to be crossed. After a few meters, there was a clear sign that the piece of road was not crossable by pedestrians on foot. And then was what we enjoyed the most, border markers, these fascinating small colorful obelisks that we love so much, the white and black Estonian one, followed by the green and red Russian marker.
Well, it's 10 o'clock at night and I can still use my sunglasses. How cool is that? Man, I love Estonia. But I also love that bit of Russia that we just crossed through. That was very exciting. That was short, but very intense, like most of my sexual experiences nowadays. What a weird joke coming from me. But anyway, guys, thanks ever so much for coming along, and I'll see you next time. Cheers, and thank you, and bye.